They just don't have anything going for them, basically throughout the entirety of the game. But that's just going to happen. Warrior will have those same kinds of draws at the same time. So I think a lot of these games, when they're won and lost, are going to be kind of traded back and forth on, just who didn't get the right draw and didn't get anything going for them. But Show's got stuff like Senjin's Shieldmaster in his deck. He's got a copy of Big Game Hunter, which isn't in every single Warrior build that you see recently. So a couple of cards I think that aren't going to be performing exceptionally well versus Rogue. And Firebat, when he's got this copy of Gnomish Inventor, this is like that little bit of extra gas that he's looking for to kind of get the ball rolling. It's not a big deal, but digging one card extra into your deck and having a body on the board that Warrior does eventually have to consider makes a big difference in this matchup.
Yeah, I feel like in this matchup is one of the matchups where Gnomish Inventor is really going to shine. But as we say that, a Gadgetzan Auctioneer has been drawn from Firebat. So it is, as we kind of speculated, this is going to be closer to a Miracle Rogue that Reynad actually ran in GVG in the Invent Invitational, where he went 0-3.
So hopefully we don't see any more 3-0s. That's the one thing we were trying to avoid. I want to see this Priest deck get played. But let's focus back on this game for a second. Gadgetzan Auctioneer gets drawn, and I feel like this is one of those super key cards in a matchup like this, where Warrior can struggle so much with dealing with Gadgetzan Auctioneer, especially when Rogue has the coin. Do you think it's going to be the case in this game, or do you just think that just the amount of card draw he would have had anyway is going to be enough? Like, how much pressure is this Gadgetzan Auctioneer actually adding to what's going on?
I think with this particular draw, it probably doesn't matter that much. Because there's an Acolyte in the field, we're probably going to be seeing something like a coin Adradrake. But just as I say that, Violet Teacher gets drawn, so ignore that. If he didn't draw this Violet Teacher, he might have been forced to coin the Adradrake. So he gives up his coin and he gives up another spell for his Auctioneer to be used. So in this particular game, I don't think the Auctioneer will come too much into effect, just because there's so much gas already in Firebat's hand.
Yeah, so choosing to take out this Acolyte because Show did not attack with his Deathbite, so he doesn't have the charge of it set up. So this Violet Teacher, a much bigger threat than it would usually be. Show's got Shield Slam, and Shield Block and Shield Slam to help take that out, though. But he doesn't get to develop if he chooses to make that line. So this might just be a Whirlwind instead. You really don't want to let Violet Teacher get out of control. Like, if something goes wrong with that, you're going to be kicking yourself if it happens. This also uses his mana a little bit more efficiently, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if something like an Earthen Ring So Farseer comes down, for example, it might just mess up Show's plans if he does something strange and doesn't deal with the Violet Teacher on this particular turn.
Whirlwind also not the most useful card in this matchup. Aside from Violet Teacher, it really doesn't get much done, so making good use of his cards as early as he can is also another good game plan.
Alright, so Gnomish Inventor comes down. A Deadly Poison is drawn. Oh man, this Armor Smith is just so annoying. It's got the perfect amount of health at 4 health that you eventually have to deal with it, or the warrior just gets too much damage for you to too much armor for you to burst down. But it's just it's a 2-mana minion that you have to use something like an Eviscerate for. Yeah. Not really what you want.
This is sort of the downside of not being able to develop. Also, is that if Warrior's the first one to put a significant threat on the board, they can very easily start to run away with games. And Shield Maiden is not the kind of minion that you ever want to sap. So how he chooses to go forward from here, this is tough. I mean, you might see a sap this turn even, just to try to get more stuff on the board. He's seen a Whirlwind at this point, and one of the Deathbites out of the equation, so he may feel comfortable just pushing forward.
Oh, are we actually going to see an Auctioneer? I haven't seen one of those in a while. Auctioneer on the field, maybe? If he plays the Auctioneer, though, he can get a coin out, a backstab out, and a Deadly Poison out. I think he's going to save the Auctioneer at this point, because this essentially gives a similar effect, and he's already has so many cards in his hand already that he doesn't really need any more right now.
This is actually pretty tough. I think he's going to end up using a Deadly Poison here, just to make sure this 5/5 doesn't stick.
Oh, that feels so bad.
Whoa, he's actually just going to set up that. You know, this is actually a turn where this kind of signals a bluff over to Show, where he feels like he doesn't, like, I don't think Firebat wants the board to get developed anymore for Show. So when he throws this poison on a dagger, he's really trying to telegraph something like, hey, I have a big Blade Flurry available, so you need to watch out. And Show sort of, I think he would have Deathbited anyway, but if he didn't have Death Spite, I think he actually might have picked up on something like that and chosen to not attack. And chosen not to develop his board further, simply in fear of something like Blade Flurry.
Yeah, fortunately for Show, he did have that Death Spite, so he feels perfectly safe right now with his board. He's not really too vulnerable to anything like a big Blade Flurry. Plus, he's developed his board very well, including this Death Spite. And he'll just be able to contest this Valley Teacher very well. Basically, anything that that Rogue can put on the field right now is going to have 5 or less health. Not many players play Dr. Boom. Not many Rogue players play Dr. Boom, so that's not even too much of a consideration. And even if Dr. Boom comes down, we have the Execute already in Show's hand. So no matter what Firebat plays on this turn, Show will have an effective way of dealing with it.
I got the best deal.
So be careful how he chooses to allocate all his cards here. It's going to be Auctioneer. It's going to be Coin. Those are no-brainers. And it looks like he's going to have to just sap this. And so I don't think he's very thrilled with this. But there's just not a lot of other plays. He has enough gas in his hand, though, I think, that he's okay with sacrificing his Auctioneer in a position like this. And just making sure that the board doesn't get out of control and that his opponent isn't able to just put a bunch of damage into his face. But Show, I mean, these 2 Shield Slams may allow him to just continue this onslaught. Like, I imagine Shield Maiden and Shield Slam is going to be what's coming here. And Firebat, I think, is trying to get rid of this Death Spite so he can start to develop his board. And just Show's not letting that happen.
Yeah, Show knows that if he saves his Death Spite right now, his opponent will essentially be in the same situation over and over again. It's just a lot of okay. Backstab is going to come down. He's actually going to be able to deal with the Shield Maiden, but again, this Death Spite will be able to cleave down the 4/4, and Show will be able to develop even further. Wow, and Ysera.
Whoa, Ysera gets drawn, and this is like, what is going on? This is like Warrior circa 1997 here.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that card in Warrior in ages.
Yeah, I've seen it before in a deck by Fibonacci, who's like, again, I've mentioned him before. He's like the premier NA ladder warrior player. He's like OG warrior. Most people don't know about him because he's primarily a ladder player, but he always gets like some of the very highest legends on NA. And he's a player that tends to use Ysera in warrior because he likes to use it against druids. If you're able to stabilize as warrior and you throw down a Ysera on the board, it's pretty much game over against druid.
Now, mind you, Fibonacci plays Deathwing a lot too. And from what I understand, Fibonacci puts Ysera and Deathwing in his decks because he gets bored. That's my understanding of the situation from it. So still going to keep his Death Spite here. And just going to go Sylvanas and Armor Up, choosing not even to use his Death Spite on the Azure Drake here. So still trying to disrupt the flow of the game here. Both these players fighting so hard for board control. And I think that what Show's trying to do with his Sylvanas is he's trying to actually force out a bunch of removal, or he's trying to get the second sap out of the way so he can play Ysera.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Firebat has like a kind of an easy sap this turn, but I think you actually just want to clear this Sylvanas. It's not a minion that it really is worth sapping. In this particular scenario, just because the warrior, it has potentially Ragnaros, it has like Sneed's Old Shredder sometimes, it has Alexstrasza, and in this scenario, he even has Ysera, so I think Ysera is definitely going to be the card that he's going to save his sap for.
Yeah, mind you, I don't think he knows Ysera's in this deck.
Oh, definitely not.
Yeah,
Certainly
so
not.
unless he's exceptionally familiar with Show's builds right now, which if there's one person I think that is going to be familiar with builds, it's going to be Firebat. He's going to give the nod to pressure here instead, though. So 6/6 Van Cleef's going to get made. And he's just going to start going for face here. And Show, this is an opportunity for him to play Ysera, but I don't really know if like this is like an optimal Ysera turn.
Oh, I think it's pretty good right now. You can clear the board plus play Ysera. I mean, this is as
oh wow! I
about
didn't see that execute. Oh my gosh! I didn't see the execute. Oh geez, that is a way good Ysera board. Forgive me,
man.
That is that's problematic. Yep, and wow, Show dreams and the world trembles.
Very nice.
Oh my gosh, this is not a position Firebat wants to be in right now. He needs to draw a third sap.
A third sap.
Nice. Unfortunately, this is not Arena.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like not only is this area going to be drawing Show a lot of good dream cards, but that 412 body is actually going to be very relevant, clearing at least a minion every single turn.
I think Show actually might start favoring face here too, though. He's just got a lot of damage. I mean, with the Nightmare, 2 cool Taskmasters, a Fiery War Axe.
I actually, in this scenario, I prefer just playing a bit safer because Ysera is like just a card that, as the game goes longer, the better it is.
He's got 16 damage in his hand right now. Like this turn, he's got 16 damage if he wants it.
All right, just again clearing the board.
I go for face too much. Let's just
I have no time
let's just
for
put that
games.
one out there. So Ysera down to 4-9. So if something like Tinker's Sharpsword Oil gets drawn, I think Firebat may have some clean answers to this. But again, just so much value's been nabbed by Ysera at this point. Second Blade Flurry is not good.
No, that's not it. He has a 4 he has a 4 damage board clear, but that's not really enough right now. Oh, I guess it is with the Eviscerate if he really wants it.
He's got a board clear, but he's just investing so much damage into this, and he doesn't have a mechanism to really draw any more cards that he's lost so much ground at this point that he's got to feel like he's really far behind.
Yeah, as the rogue player, this is exactly what you don't want to do. You're usually, as a rogue player, you're hurting for damage, and you just don't want your opponent to get a lot of armor against a warrior. But right now, he's forced to expend all his damage on stuff like Ysera, and the Ysera is just effectively being a tank. It's effectively more armor for Show right now, getting him more health.
Yep. Wow, so much damage bought by that Ysera. Armor Smith gets picked up, and it's just going to be more armor for Show.
Yeah, pretty easy turn here. Just put more minions on the board, contest the board even further, and just... I don't think Show is even going to get under 30 health ever again for the remainder of this game.
It's going to be pretty tough. Wow, Ysera making all the difference in the world in this match. Who'd have thunk? Yeah, Firebat's just going to scoop this one up. Show is going to... He's going to take a 2